Hi everyone, welcome to Aurelia's Virtual Book Club. Today I'm discussing Pentecost by JF Penn. We heard from her at the beginning of February, and I finally finished the book. Hopefully you did too, because I might be letting some spoilers out there, so I definitely recommend reading the book before continuing to watch this. Overall, I like the story. I think it did a good job of following in the thriller genre of like having something where the heroine needed to save her family. She needed to find something in order to do that. There was clearly sort of a goal and a purpose. Um, the style, on the other hand, sort of had some issues with it. Style, I'm very sensitive to style. So, for example, I I can't stand reading anything by Charles Dickens. I like I can't do it. But his work, once it's adapted for theater or film or musical, all of that I can like. I love A Christmas Carol. I love Oliver Twist. Um, but only if I don't have to read them. So it was very clear from reading this that it was Joanna's first novel, that she'd had a lot of experience writing nonfiction before, and I think that crept into her narrative style a lot. Um, and frequently that would sort of take me out of the story, which was distracting. So it took me the whole month to read instead of one evening or a day or 2 days, which is typical of a book that really draws me in. Um, so I think there were a lot of times, like when Ben was in the Bodleian Library and he was looking for a particular piece of information, and instead of just going directly to find the information because he knew that time was of the essence, he he stopped and sort of contemplated the surroundings. And I think that was her attempt at showing us what these places looked like. Like this was one example of where this happened. Um, and I think it could have added if the way that she had described it had been a little bit more active instead of contemplating how the sunlight falls through the windows and how ancient things are and how you like to spend time sitting there and contemplating the world. Maybe, you know, noticing that it's comfortable and that he has to fight against the pull of the familiar in order to accomplish his task. Like, he has to keep himself from being pulled in. Something a little bit more upbeat. Maybe that's not quite the right word. More fast paced, shorter words, shorter sentences that I think could have helped a little bit. Especially, I think there were a number of action scenes, a number of fight scenes throughout the story that sort of felt disconnected and disjointed. And I didn't really get as deep an experience of Morgan's reactions to these fights as I think I really wanted. Um, she she seemed to recover emotionally from them very quickly, um, but it didn't really make sense that she would be that indifferent because she had been in the Israeli military and she had left for a reason. So it would have been a little bit more believable for me if she had had a little bit more inner turmoil around the violence and all of that. So I think a lot of people have said that they really liked it, and I think it is a really good book if the style doesn't get in your way. And some people, clearly, that isn't an issue at all. Um, I do really like how she wove in sort of all of the facts that she knows from theology, from psychology, the stuff with Jung and the Red Book and all of his artwork, and the symbolism with the wasps, snakes, everything that I think worked really well. Um, and I hope she continues to use all of that in her work because I think it adds something really valuable and really unique. Um, I started reading Des- no, Prophecy. Desecration's the next one. Or maybe it's the other series, I don't remember. I started reading Prophecy, which is the second book in the Arcane series. And I haven't gotten very far, but I think it's already very clear to me that her style has dramatically improved. So I'm looking forward to reading the rest of her work. But I think she did a really good job of exploring the themes of life and death and um, healing and faith versus madness. I think was a big major component throughout. I mean, you spend the first half of the book thinking that Everett is just crazy and insane and that all of this stuff is a fluke and that Thanatos is just a fanatic terrorist organization and they have no basis in understanding for anything. They're just all, delusional. And then you start to see through her how she wove in the information about Carl Jung. You see that maybe they're not as insane as you think they are. And maybe there's a similarity between insanity and true belief that's difficult to define and distinguish. And I think it's really interesting how she explores that through this clearly genre fiction. I mean, in I've always really enjoyed reading fantasy and science fiction because of how much you can understand about how people work, what they decide to do, why they decide to do it. And I'm really glad I read this for just the simple reason of understanding a little bit better how insanity, madness, and faith, belief are sort of two sides of the same coin sometimes. Um, so that was really fun. Um, I guess that's all for now. I hope you enjoyed the book too. Whether you did or not, I want to hear from you. Email me, aurelia@amkc.com. Let me know what you thought. And next week, we will have another author interview. So get excited. I've started reading that book already, and I had to force myself to stop so that I wouldn't finish it all before the first interview because I want the author interview to be as spoiler free as possible. So I'll see you then.